talk to. I've learned so much from him, from a leadership point of view, from a testing point of view, and he thirsts for knowledge. He and I go at it, him asking me questions about mobile testing, and he is always wanting to learn. So if you do get a chance to talk to him at the conference, please do so. And don't be afraid of him. He's a little wacky, but we all are. And right? I mean, we are. And but he's such a good person.
Let me say as well that, I see there's this week I think there's a Surge conference going on. There's some popularity with DevOps days and WebOps days and every kind of something ops days.
Yes.
That's attracting, and a lot of them are attracting, younger audiences with not very much depth and experience, particularly around performance, which is near and dear to my heart. Mm-hmm. So I have to say, being at STPCon, the original P of STP is really performance, and it's one of those conferences that you can find people like me who have been doing performance work for 20 plus years and can help you get to the next level, which is pretty fun. So the other conferences around performance, even though they're great conferences and they're still new, STP has been around long enough to really know how to attract great performance testers and performance engineers. So it's one of the only homes for a performance testing conference, which is why I keep coming back.
One of the places that I have learned so much about performance testing is STPCon, and to meet guys like you and Scott Barber, and I'm trying to think of who will be there. There are quite a few that come through. That I off the top of my head, I can't think of who's going to be there. But
okay. All you really want to do is talk to me, though.
That's right.
That's right.
My point was that I do thoroughly enjoy meeting so many people with different backgrounds. Okay, so let me ask you: you've got a couple of sessions going on, and you're doing one by yourself, and two by yourself, and you're doing one with Mike. So let's see. First of all, you're going to be doing insightful testing. So let me ask you, what does that mean?
Well, you should use your own insights to determine what that means, right, JeanAnn? Don't you
yes.
think? No. That's actually the heart of the topic, which is really, I think the original title for the talk is one I gave earlier this year, and it was like context-driven basis for decision making in testing. It was this long thing, and it's shortened up because it's basically what I would determine to be either applying emotional intelligence or intelligences that you may not even be aware are happening within your cognitive capability, your mental capability, and you can bring those kinds of insights into testing. And so this is a session that we can talk about what's actually happening in the neuroscience of your brain. That, JeanAnn, have you ever been one of those people sitting there and you're racking your brain trying to come up with creative ways to do some testing, and then somebody walks up, in 5 seconds it goes, oh, well, why don't you do this? Click, 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 boom, and they break it. And you're like,
yes.
Why did you do that? I hate that, right? They bring some kind of creativity or insight or something. I think there's a lot of pressure on testers today to be more creative or find a way to enable themselves to tap into their own natural insights about what is a vulnerability within the software, what is, analyzing things and being critical about things, and maybe getting away from, sort of the rote ways of doing testing. So really good techniques for exploratory testing and maybe doing more insightful types of behaviors around your testing practices that you do today. So it's a great session to just kind of tap into these sort of unknown parts of your own capabilities as a creative tester. It's a fun session.
That sounds great. I really am interested. Okay, so the next session is very much in your wheelhouse. Continuous performance testing, and it's an extended session, and it'll probably be up against one of mine. I want to attend it, but I can never get enough performance testing information.
Yeah.
But and you've taught me so much in the sessions in the past that I've attended, as well as the training classes. it's a way of thinking. I think that, continuous performance, what does that mean as opposed to performance testing?
Well, performance testing generally was usually termed validation of some kind of certification or a gatekeeping role on the level of quality that you needed for either end users or business needs or whatever. So the testing title really has a long heritage of being pulled away from research, pulled away from the learning aspect. It was more like you see these arguments about checking versus testing. And I'm an advocate of moving testing more towards actual research and development and engineering. And testing is about learning and making more decisions about how you're going to continue building something. And there's that word, continue. So there's been in the last 10 years, with rapid software development, and more continuous integration or continuous deployment techniques, performance gets left out. In fact, testing altogether sometimes gets left out of these, nightly or multiple builds a day, and development is going fast. And testing is like, well, where's my build? And I need 2 days to test. So continuous performance testing, this is a half-day workshop, basically, a mini workshop that will help people get not only the concepts for how to change their approach to performance testing by moving it up into development, maybe having different scales of tests or different scopes of tests that give you different meaning, different performance results at different stages of the life cycle, and doing it in a very automated and unattended kind of way. And it's a challenge for most guys like me, an old school tester with older techniques that are more like waterfall or gatekeeping roles, to start doing very small pieces of tests and learning small parts of performance and deriving that feedback. So it's a good half-day workshop. It'll introduce the basic flows of information, both for promotion and feedback. We'll cover a lot of the tools that you'll need to learn in order to start adapting and moving upstream in the life cycle, and also a little bit of how to measure whether this is something that's becoming beneficial to your engineers, as well as maybe improving the flow of good quality code to promote to production. So it's a little bit of an overview for people who are traditional performance testers in Agile or Waterfall, and how they can take those steps to learn more about integrating performance into their CI or a continuous deployment.
Okay.
Now,
well, this
I'll just say on the side, I don't want to miss out on the last actual session, which is the infuriatingly fun performance puzzles, because those are the only two performance actual classes I'm giving, and the puzzles class is really, really fun, totally interactive, and Eric Pergler just loved it. So.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
I really hope I can go to that, because I love the puzzles.
But I also love the title, right? Because performance testing is infuriating. Only sick, twisted people think it's actually fun. So we'll have infuriatingly fun performance testing puzzles, I think.
Well, I fit right in there because, I find it fun. That's one of the reasons why I like performance, or talking about performance, is thinking up different ways of looking at it. And that's why the puzzle is important, because it does help.
The puzzles are really cool, because if you've ever listened to Car Talk, they come up with a puzzler that has no answer. And that's exactly what the session is. So you actually presented with a sort of a riddle or a scenario. It was a dark and stormy night in the test lab, and 4 of the web servers went down, and network, CPU, and memory were all exhausted. You noticed on the floor that there was an Oracle user's manual and 3 beer cans. You tell me what went wrong. No, I'm not advocating drinking beer and doing administration. That's not, that really don't do that. But these are sort of puzzlers, just like the Car Talk puzzlers.
Well, and then to talk it out, right? To share information with another person and talk out and work out the different variables of what could be part of that puzzle.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah,
so that'll be a fun one.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I'm looking forward to your sessions very much.
It'll be fun. It's going to be a really good time.
Yeah. And there's a lot of great sessions and a lot of great speakers that are coming up. Jim Hazen, welcome to the show. I haven't talked to you in quite a while, so we've known each other a long time.
Yeah, we have. It's, I think the first time we met was in San Diego over a year ago.
Yeah. Yeah. But we've we've been conversing of sorts on SQA forums, and we reminisced last year, 2013, in San Diego, where we talked about how long we've known automation, and we go back to the OS2 days.
Nowadays people say OS what?
I haven't done automation in a long time, at least, sitting and scripting. So, when I attended your session in San Diego, I found it really interesting. And, I learned so much from attending so many wonderful speakers. And I'm so glad you're doing the session, coming up in November. So, tell people about, your background just a bit, so that people know who you are.
Okay. The quick condensed version, I've been working in the industry since 1987 and formerly in software testing since 88. I've worked at various companies, either, as staff member or going in and building up the test group. But in 1990, I was working on a project for a company and got involved with test automation on a big scale there. And that was the OS2 project. I worked with one of the first generation GUI test tools. And since then, I've worked with different platforms and tools over the last 20 plus years. And I'm currently working on a project for a client here in Denver, implementing automation and performance testing for them. So predominantly the last 15 years, I've been consulting and dealing primarily with test tools and getting things in place.
Well, that leads nicely into my question. Because I saw what you're talking about, your topic is primarily on implementing automation into a company. I think a lot of times, companies jump in to automation and they don't quite know what they're doing. They just know they want a tool.
Well, as you mentioned, a lot of companies, and especially in the last probably, 8 years with Agile really taking off and the push for, quote unquote automation of testing, companies are trying to get going with that, but they don't understand what all is involved with it. They go and get the tool and then they go find the problem to solve it with.
Yeah.
And it's kind of putting the cart before the horse.
Absolutely.
And in my session, what I'm going to do is let's put the horse back in front of the cart and go through what you need to do to prepare to do an implementation of automation. I mean, what are all the logistics you need to do beforehand? What things do you need to gather and sort out to make sure that you have an idea of what you're trying to what you're trying to automate, how you want to do it, who's going to be involved, and make sure all the different stakeholders understand that when you implement automation, it's a larger scale project. It's not a part-time job for somebody. There's things you need to do before you even select a tool. And as a part of, some of the framework, like, what are you trying to get out of the tool? What are some of the features you need to support the type of applications you're working with? So, I'm not going to talk about any specific tool, but it's a lot of that front end work of who, what, when, where, why.
I talk about this a lot in mobile testing because everybody keeps asking me, what's the best mobile tool? What's the best mobile tool? Tell me this. Tell me why you want to implement. What kinds of tests do you want to do for mobile testing? They don't even know. They just want to ask. And their managers have the money and they're quick to spend the money and they don't understand what they even want to test. So I am so grateful that you're doing this session, and I really hope that people don't waste their money in purchasing tools until they understand what's involved. And yes, indeed, it is a full-time job. I've been through 3 automation implementation projects where the software ended up as shelfware, and we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars wasted.
Trust me, I've made my mistakes over the years and learned my lessons.
Sure.
I mean, I'm consider myself a veteran of the software testing trenches. So as a part of that, you've
definitely done. You've had so much experience in implementing and utilizing automation, and not only having your trials, but definitely you've been very successful. And I really greatly admire your career. So I can't think of a better person to do this session. What kinds of things would you want the company to specifically look for in preparation? Can you share just a bit?
Yeah, some of the things I'm going to talk about is looking at what your current assets are. I mean, from the standpoint of, what type of people do you have in place, their skill sets, then also looking at the test artifacts themselves. What do you have? What